All right, guys, welcome in to a fun little March Madness challenge where I will be flipping a coin to see who ends up winning the national championship. Every single pick will be totally random. Now, originally, I thought about having the number one overall seeds just advance, anyways, because one seeds never lose, but that kind of takes away from the whole idea, the whole challenge. So I've got a little coin generator or whatever you want to call it, and I will be flipping here, and we're going to be doing every single game, every round. Can a 16 seed make the Final Four? And then actually, I'm going to be comparing this bracket. This is one of my 25 brackets I'm doing to my personal brackets, and we'll see which one ends up better. I would expect mine, hopefully, to end up better. But originally, I was thinking I'll just have the first seeds advance, but that kind of ruins the fun of it, so we're not going to do that. As for the heads versus tails, the higher seed does get the advantage. The higher seed will be heads. The lower seed will be tails. That means if I flip it and it's tails, the lower seed advances. And there is actually an advantage to heads. They've done studies on this where they flipped a coin. I think it was like 1,000,000 times. And due to the buoyancy of the coin, it was like 51.7% of it was heads. So whenever you're doing a coin toss or something like that, you're always going to want to choose heads. There is an advantage to it. Now for this, there's no advantage. This is just online. It's just some generator, whatever, who knows. But in general, you're going to want to choose heads. That's based off analytical probabilities. But guys, when it comes to this, we'll do the first four matchup here, and we'll have Texas A&M Corpus Christi be heads because they're 4-point favorites. We'll go ahead and do that. And Texas A&M Corpus Christi beats Southeastern Missouri State or whatever they're called, and they advance. So we've got a first round matchup. Alabama is heads. Let's not nuke this bracket. Let's hope Alabama wins this. We're starting off with a bang. We've got Texas A&M Corpus Christi with a huge monumental upset as probably 30-point underdogs. They take out Alabama. That's karma for the Brandon Miller situation. That is karma, just like I predicted. Now we've got Maryland as heads, West Virginia as tails in an 8v9 matchup, and Maryland holds serve. So Maryland will take on Texas A&M Corpus Christi, San Diego State and Charleston in a 5v12, and Charleston, yes, a lot of people think this is going to happen, an upset there. Charleston will advance. Virginia and Furman. I love the upset here. How about this? Virginia holds serve and beats Furman. So there's a nice little 4v12 matchup. Creighton and NC State. Creighton is heads, and Creighton, the 6th seed, moves on. Not surprising. Baylor and UC Santa Barbara. That UC Santa Barbara team not going to pull off the upset. That's a solid victory there for Baylor. That's a nice 6-3 game there. I'm liking how this bracket is turning out. This bracket looks good right now. We've got Missouri. Missouri beats Utah State. Utah State, a very popular upset pick. They're actually favorites by about 1.5 points as the 10 seed. Arizona and Princeton. Arizona is heads. Princeton is tails. And Arizona moves on. The 2 seed moves on. So a few upsets there in the South region. Now moving on, it's going to be Texas Southern taking on Fairleigh Dickinson. Texas Southern is slightly favored, so they're going to be the heads. Texas Southern is heads. And Fairleigh Dickinson pulls off the upset, and now we've got Purdue versus Fairleigh Dickinson in a massive showdown. And yep, this is realistic because Fairleigh Dickinson is going to get Zach Edey into foul trouble, and they're going to pull off the upset. So they advance as well. How about that? 2 16 seeds. We never seen this in history. This is realistic. This is legit. Memphis, FAU. Memphis is heads. A lot of people like Memphis, but FAU improves to 32-3. They beat Memphis. Really good win there. Duke and Oral Roberts in a 12v5 game. Yep. that is accurate. Duke holds serve. We expect Duke to win that game there and hold serve. Next, we've got Tennessee as heads and Louisiana as tails. Yeah, that's another popular upset pick. I agree with this. I think Tennessee's going to starve off Louisiana. They've got the best defense in college basketball. Kentucky and Providence, we expect Kentucky to win this game. And of course, they go Providence. All right, the revenge game. We can understand it. I get it. Next, we've got San Diego State and Montana State. San Diego State, the heads, and they move on. Yep. This is looking nice. MSU and USC, we would expect Izzo to win this game. Never mind, we've got USC advancing there. Marquette and Vermont. Come on, Marquette. Of course, Vermont pulls off the upset. So this bracket is looking phenomenal. So we've got USC versus... Listen, Vermont analytically, they are actually the best 15 seed. They're actually better than all the 14 seeds. It's crazy. I was looking at the analytics. It is not a good draw for Marquette, but I do have Marquette in my Final Four. How about Houston and Northern? Okay, come on. We had the fun. We had the two 16 seeds winning. Let's make sure this is heads. It was just tails. Analytically, it should be heads. Come on. There's no way. There's no way. And there it is. Houston moves on. They knock out Northern Kentucky, the 16 seed. They are 23-point favorites. Iowa taking on Auburn. This game being played in Birmingham. And Iowa, even with the disadvantage there in terms of the location, they win and they face Houston in a solid 1v8 matchup. Next, we've got Miami and Drake. We expect Drake. No. Looks like they like Miami to surprisingly hold off the upset. They're saying, listen, we're not an NPC. We're not doing the 12v5 upset like everyone else is. They like them there. I love Kent State. I love Kent State to beat Indiana. Can we get a tails? Can we get it? We can't get it. So listen, they're going with the favorites. I respect it. The coin flip with Indiana there. We've got Mississippi State taking on Pittsburgh. Mississippi State will be heads because they are 1.5-point favorites in this game. And Pittsburgh moves on to take on Iowa State. And we'll see who wins that. And Pittsburgh is a Cinderella potential. They advance. They beat Iowa State. Xavier and Kennesaw State, a 3v14. And Xavier University advances. That's an upset potential. That is there. Texas A&M and Penn State, really fun matchup here. Penn State and the guard play, they will be advancing. And then Texas and Colgate. And Texas ends up winning that game. They will be advancing to take on Penn State. The final region, this is the West. It is Kansas and Howard. You know, let's be realistic here. If this bracket wants to have any chance of being anything, it needs to have Kansas winning this game. It needs to have heads. Let's see if it's smart and it does it correctly. And it does. It goes with Kansas to beat Howard there. So two of the one seeds go 2-2 in round one. Arkansas taking on Illinois. And we do have, very smart. We do have Arkansas advancing there. I like that. St. Mary's and VCU. We like St. Mary's. They've got Virginia Commonwealth. A lot of people have Virginia Commonwealth to pull off the upset there. UConn and Iona. And UConn wins that game. They will be moving on. They are loved analytically. We've got Arizona State and Nevada. I believe Arizona State is slight favorites, although actually I'm not sure on that game. I didn't see a line, but we're going to go Arizona State heads. Yep, Arizona State wins that game, and now Arizona State flips to tails, and they lose to TCU. So TCU advances there. Gonzaga and Grand Canyon. This one seems pretty obvious. I mean, it would be shocking if Gonzaga lost this game. And Gonzaga wins as the 3 seed there. Northwestern and Boise State in a 7v10 matchup. Northwestern holds serve as the 7 seed. I could see that game going either way. But I am starting to like Northwestern. UCLA and UNC Asheville. It's got to be UCLA. We got to see it. And they've got UNC Asheville with a major bomb upset. It does make sense, UCLA dealing with that injury, so I have to respect that. But on to the round of 32. It is going to be Texas A&M Corpus Christi taking on Maryland. So Maryland lucks out. They get a great draw here to the Sweet 16. The 16 seed will be tails. And it is heads. So Maryland knocks out Texas A&M Corpus Christi. They will be moving on, and they will be taking on Virginia or Charleston. Yep. That's very nice. I was concerned Virginia was going to go far. So Charleston, the up-and-coming team, they've only got 3 losses on the year. They are on to the Sweet 16. Creighton and Baylor. This is a great matchup. Yep, Creighton ends up beating Baylor. They knock them out. Missouri and Arizona. We need this one to be heads. We need this one to be heads. And they've got Missouri advancing. Okay, so they've got Creighton versus Missouri. Now we're on to Fairleigh Dickinson taking on FAU. Winner advances to the Sweet 16. Fairleigh Dickinson is tails. FAU, you would expect to be 20-point favorites going into this game. They are heavy favorites, and they advance. FAU knocks out Fairleigh Dickinson. They advance. This is actually pretty accurate, I would say. There were, with Alabama being out in the first round, that's a little tough. But Duke versus Kentucky, this is a 5v4. This is very realistic. And Duke versus Tennessee, and Tennessee ends up advancing. So FAU versus Tennessee, Providence versus Kansas State. We are going to go with Kansas State to win that game. USC versus Vermont. We would hope, and USC wins that, and they advance to the Sweet 16. Iowa versus Houston. And it is, oh my God. It is going to be Houston winning that game. They will be advancing. It's going to be Iowa winning that game. They advance, and they beat Houston. Miami versus Indiana. And we've got Miami advancing, so Miami going back to the Sweet 16. This is Pittsburgh taking on Xavier. Oh, come on with the first 4. Pittsburgh, the Cinderella team from the first 4, they're into the Sweet 16. They will take on Penn State in a 10v11 game. Wow. Next, we've got Kansas and Arkansas. So I think Kansas is the final 1 seed. You're going to need Kansas to win this game. And Kansas does advance. They hold serve as the 1 seed. VCU versus UConn. Show me ahead. Nope. VCU, a Cinderella team into the Sweet 16. TCU and Gonzaga. We're going to go with Gonzaga. Very realistic. They're on. And now oh my God. You've got Northwestern taking on UNC Asheville. Oh, no. And congratulations to UNC Asheville. They're on to the Sweet 16. All right, we're on to the Sweet 16 games. All the 16 seeds are out. There's still one 15 seed left. How about this? 8v12. Maryland versus Charleston. I am not high on well, maybe Charleston could make this if they're a Cinderella, and Charleston advances to the Elite Eight. What a run. What a run by Charleston. At this point, they're like 34-3. Creighton and Missouri. And we do have Missouri. Oh my goodness. So Missouri advances to the Elite Eight. This is turning out interesting. FAU and Tennessee. FAU, the other 3-loss team, they advance as a 9 seed to the Elite Eight. Kansas State and USC. And we are going to have Kansas State holding serve and advancing to the Elite Eight. Iowa taking on Miami. Oh, this is going to be... We do have Miami advancing again. So they advanced to the Elite Eight last year and this year. And then we have Pittsburgh taking out the Battle of Pennsylvania. Who would have thought? Pittsburgh and Penn State. And we have Penn State making it back to the... Well, for the first time in forever, Penn State makes it to the Elite Eight. Kansas and VCU. And we have Kansas, so the 1 seed is still alive. Gonzaga and UNC Asheville for a spot in the Elite Eight. And we have Gonzaga advancing there and beating UNC Asheville in the Elite Eight. All right, final 4 games. It's Charleston versus Missouri. I actually kind of hope it's tails. I hope Charleston advances here. And Missouri makes the Final 4. Oh, my goodness. I think Missouri's going to lose in round 1. I think they're a week 7 seed. Next, we have FAU and Kansas State. And Kansas State advances to the Final Four to face Missouri. Then we have Miami and Penn State. And Penn State will be in the Final Four. They will take on either... Okay, here's a realistic one. Gonzaga versus Kansas. And it's going to be Kansas making the Final Four. So the Final Four games are going to be... It's not even letting me see the championship. I'm going to have to move it. Missouri versus Kansas State. Missouri is tails. And Kansas State makes the national championship. They will take on either Penn State or Kansas, and they will take on Penn State. So now the national championship game is Penn State versus Kansas State. Kansas State is heads, and you know what? We might do a lot of coins for this. We might have to up this to 10 coins. 10 coins total. Kansas State is heads. Penn State is tails. Kansas State versus Penn State national championship. Heads, heads, tails, heads, tails, tails, heads, tails. I mean, what? I can't even calculate that, man. All right, we're going to go back down to 1 coin. I don't know. It's like making me do math. 1 coin, Kansas State is heads, Penn State is tails, and Kansas State wins the national title. Let me zoom this out. Kansas State wins the national title by a score of 1-0. So there that is. You can see the overall upsets involved in this. You've got Alabama losing in the first round. You've got Charleston making it to the Elite Eight. Missouri making the Final Four. Penn State making the national championship. Kansas State winning the national title. You've got Fairleigh Dickinson making the second round. So there are, I don't think this is going to do very well in terms of the overall numbers, but that is the final bracket in terms of the, what do you want to call this, the coin flip challenge. But guys, that's going to do it for this video. Make sure you're following me on Twitter. Link to that's always in the description.